After researching thousands of millionaires, billionaires, top performers, and successful people, my definition of success has changed drastically. Here's how. For those of you who are new, let me give you a very quick bio on me in the last few years. So, I was always a bit of an average person, and I stumbled across books and videos on success. And I watched a lot of advice and interviews and commencement speeches from successful people. Hundreds, if not thousands, of videos, interviews, tons of books. And I'm not saying this to brag. Some of you might be like, okay, yeah, show off. But I'm saying this to share with you some of the insights and lessons I've learned to maybe help you along this journey. So I always wanted to be, something successful. I thought that maybe I could do it somehow. I want to be, something amazing. And oftentimes there wasn't really an outlet for me to do this, or I was often just kind of average. There's a few times in my life where I was able to stand out and be awesome, but I always wanted to see where my life would go. Deep down on some level, I feel like, you know, I always felt that one day I would do great things, huge things that would impact the world. I just didn't know how that was possible. And when I stumbled across these success books and these, wealth creation books written by millionaires and billionaires, giving advice, or top performers, I realized, this is possible. They're telling me like I don't need to have super genetic, talent or some super level of skill. And so that really appealed to me because I wasn't the best student ever. I wasn't the best athlete ever or anything like that. So how did my definition of success change? Well, after all of this, my definition of success has drastically changed from initially being one where, I wanted to be quite wealthy if I could. For a great majority of my life, I thought, that'd be great. I don't see a clear path or any path to doing so, but I want to be great and succeed in life. And that's something I took with me in a lot of different things I pursued. A lot of things I pursued looking back, whether it was academics or a sport or, learning a specific hobby or skill. I tried my best. I learned as much as I could. I would go the extra mile, especially if, I saw potential for me to succeed. And especially if I enjoyed it. Oftentimes it didn't turn out the best because I just maybe didn't have the skill necessary, or it just wasn't there. I knew for one thing that I was really good at the SAT, but just not good enough to succeed. Nonetheless, it was a fun journey. It just wasn't one where I was, at the top, which in my mind was a perfect score. I wanted to see if I could succeed to that extent, and I fell short. Nonetheless, looking back, I'm very proud of how far I came from a point of not being able to, you know, really get anywhere with the SAT and scoring close to the average percentile nationwide, which pretty much puts you in like the middle of the pack out of millions out there, and thinking there's no chance, to believing in myself, learning that there's ways to master this and I'm not just screwed, and having the fortune of learning these things, much like the books about success and wealth I've learned as well, and moving that to all the way up to the 80th and 90th percentile by hustling really, really hard. So, initially, when I first wanted to get into this, lifestyle, this success mindset, this success standard that I had set for myself, I thought that success would be, oh, I would be very wealthy and I'd be very happy and I'd be very successful and I'd have women, um, whatever else. But since then, I've moved, having experienced and heard the life stories and life lessons of so many successful people. You know, when you hear these stories, you learn things. One big thing you learn is that, guess what? Money doesn't necessarily mean you're happy. Guess what? Money sometimes means more troubles. So, other than money, you know, there's a lot of other things that people ascribe to success that may not be necessary or really even help for that matter. Fame is another one. Guess what? If you get to the higher echelons of fame, it's a huge hassle. You can't go anywhere without being mobbed. Fame is, you know, a thing that's is something that's talked about in a lot of songs. The rapper Tyga recently did a song about how he hated his fame and he just wished he was not famous at all. So different things, although they seem glamorous, they're not necessarily glamorous. You know, you learn things like this guy's really rich, but he's miserable because he hates the job that he does. He hates the business that he runs, and he can't get away from it because he can't, you know, he built this whole thing to accumulate wealth because he thought that would make him happy. All sorts of things plague us. You know, other people, they spend 10 years building this resume and all these job experiences because they think that's what they need to do in order to uh, get a job that pays well, even though they hate the job. Or another path I've seen is that these people, they chase these medals and awards and honors because they want to feel validated, or that's when they will be happy. And it's never enough. You know, there's this hole that they can't fill. Some people do it with money, some people do it with awards. You know, they think, okay, I'm not happier with $1 million, maybe if I made 10 million. And they're going about it all wrong. And I heard all these stories, and I learned a lot from it. And I'm very fortunate to have learned this. And the huge thing, though, the shocking thing is that many individuals who are a lot older than me are still stuck in this race, and they haven't learned this yet because they haven't bothered, or sometimes they're just too caught up in their own lives to take a second and seek out advice, to seek out people who have lived already and learned those lessons. Sometimes it's very useful to just take a moment and breathe and respect people who have lived a full life or a long life and made the harsh mistakes that took them years to learn. And they're literally telling you these things, whether in books or interviews or lectures, whatever it is, they're telling you these things so that you don't waste all these years yourself. So long story short, my definition of success has changed. I, wouldn't mind money. I do think that, guess what? Having money versus not having money. Having money is obviously better in a lot of ways because you don't have to have that fear or danger of, not being able to pay for health bills. An unforeseen financial occurrence occurs and now all the money in your bank is gone because you had to pay for another mortgage or a car crash and now you can't afford decent things. I would say, success in my idea is having enough money to do what I want. Not necessarily the richest person in the world. And sometimes doing what I want, in my opinion, it's not going to cost millions of dollars. To have the freedom and the free time to spend time with your family and walk around and experience nature, occasionally maybe travel or, just go out and be able to purchase the food you want, the clothing you want without hassle. That's success. And sometimes that doesn't cost millions of dollars. It just costs a small fraction of that. You know, in addition to those things for success, for me, success has changed to being happy and content and fulfilled in my life. And I'm not gonna lie, I do think that every person would like a small bit of awards because we all want to feel like we've made some type of impact or made some type of difference. Maybe some of you guys don't. I know some gamers who could care less. They just want to play video games. But for me, you know, I don't care about the ego, and if I did in the past, I think I've put it aside for the most part. I do think when I was younger, I would have cared more about, oh, maybe if I, got this or did this, then I'd be seen as this super cool guy and everyone would like me and I'd feel welcomed or whatever it is. But now I've moved away from that, and it's just a small bit of achievement for my own self, my own personal growth, to know that I've grown and developed and done things throughout my life and maybe made a little bit of an impact and a difference. But other than that, my definition of success is no longer, it's not about, how many awards do I have or whatever else. And here's the most amazing thing about the most wealthy individuals in history, from Andrew Carnegie to Warren Buffett to Sam Walton to Bill Gates. None of these people, for even a split second in their entire lives, had this goal of becoming the wealthiest person in the world. That was not in their mind. They did it because they had a business that they enjoyed. Bill Gates loved computer programming like nothing else. Warren Buffett, he loved stock market stuff, and since he was 11 years old, he would read on that stuff. He read every book about the stock market in his public library by the time he was like 13 years of age. Sam Walton, he loved these small businesses. And guess what? Even when he was a billionaire, he still went to these businesses, checked up on them all day, and even rode in the trucks all day with the truck drivers just to see how things have changed. And his lifestyle did not change because of the money. He didn't do it to be the number one wealthiest person ever. And I think nowadays, based off the current system, based off the laws of the universe, you have to have that certain level of interest. I don't think if you have that ego or that goal, you will become the number one most successful person on a global scale when you're looking at something so competitive, when you don't enjoy it and you're interested and you're passionate about it. So, long story short, my definition of success has drastically changed. In certain ways, it hasn't. Wealth is obviously important, but it is not the only thing. In addition to that, there's all sorts of other elements that are related to success that are now more important. Free time to be able to do things. There's so many CEOs and wealthy individuals who have said, sometimes on their deathbed, I wish I just had spent more time with my family. How many people on their deathbed say, I want to spend more time at work. I wish I spent more time at work. So free time, family, freedom to do what I want, to enjoy the world, to do what you're interested in, to enjoy the work you do, to be happy and enjoy life. These things are, quite important. Now, if you guys want to dive deeper into these things, I do have books I recommend. The first is called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's about a nurse who saw hundreds of people pass away, and she talks about their regrets. The second is a book I constantly bring up. It's called The How of Happiness, and it's a book about the science of happiness, what actually brings you happiness, what doesn't, what things are marginal, and there's a lot of scientific data to back this up, and it has some surprising insights in the book, which are a lot different from what modern society and media say gives us happiness. It's not the yachts, guys. So that's all I gotta say. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.